Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping by today. And if this is your first time of coming across this channel, it's centered around sewing. I make sewing tutorial videos and pattern drafting. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made this bustier gown with a yoke and also a flare sleeve. So if this sounds like something you're interested in learning how to do, continue watching and do not skip any part of this video. And if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, kindly do so and do not skip any part of this video. So let's just get started. So here are the fabrics I'm working with. I have my lace with me here and also my Ankara fabric. So for this dress, I made this of 3.5 yards of Ankara fabric to make this dress. So I'll just start by marking 3/4 of an inch at the top area, and that is going to be my shoulder line. So I'm simply going to use a stretch ruler to connect all these dots into a straight line. So the next, I'm going to divide my shoulder of 14 inches into two, and I just marked 7.5 inches there. And for my neck width, I went ahead to mark 3 inches. So from that, my shoulder point, I'm going to mark 8 inches downward, and that is going to be my armhole. So I'll simply extend that line across like this, and I'll go ahead to label that part CL, which is my chest line. So from that my shoulder area, or that my shoulder point, I'm going to connect these two lines together this way. And as you can see, I've already gone ahead to label it my SL, which is my shoulder line. I'll divide this my armhole into two, and I have 4 inches, which is the midpoint. And that midpoint, I came in by 1/2 an inch. And on that line labeled CL, which is my chest line, I'll go ahead to divide my bust of 38 inches into 4, and I marked 9.5 inches. So I've gone ahead now to connect all these dots together like this. So next I'm going to do is to impute all my other vertical measurements. So firstly, I'm going to mark my bust point of 10 inches. That's from my shoulder to my bust, from my shoulder to my nipple point, and I'll mark my shoulder to my under bust of 13 inches, and I also mark my half length of 16 inches, and I'm going to add extra 1/2 an inch and not 1 inch place for my joining allowance to the skirt part of this gown. So I'll just go ahead and extend all of these lines, all of these dots into a straight line. Apologies. So I'll go ahead and label all these other lines, my bust point, my under bust, and also my half length or my waistline. So the other one is my allowance. I'm working with a nipple to nipple point of 7 inches. So I went ahead to divide it into two, and on all these lines, I'm just simply marking 3.5 inches. 7 divided into 2 is 3.5 inches, which I just made the point right here, and I use my straight ruler to connect like this. So back to my neck area, I'm going to come down by a neck depth of 3.5 inches, and I simply made the round neckline using my curved drill. So the next thing is to mark my yoke, the part which is going to be my yoke. So if you want your yoke to start from your chest line, you're free to leave it there, but for me, I don't want my yoke to start from my chest line, so I just went ahead to mark 6 inches. So this 6 inches is not going to be too low, neither is it going to be too high. So I went ahead to mark a line across and also label this my yoke, so you don't forget. So on this line now, I'm also going to mark my nipple to nipple point of 3.5 inches. So I connected the line up to that point, as you can see right here. So the next thing is under my bust, which is the line labeled UB. The side facing the center front of my dress, I'm just going to mark 1/2 inch, and at the other side going towards the side of my dress, I'm just going to mark 1.5 inch. So this same point I made here, I'm also going to mark it on my half length and my allowance as well. So with my stretch ruler, I'll connect these points together, just as you see me doing right here in this video. The next, I'll move to my bust point, and I'm just going to come down by 1/2 an inch, which you can see I made the point right there. And with my curve drill now, I'm just going to make a curve like this from my under bust all the way through to that 1/2 an inch I came down by on my bust point area. So you can see how simple and easy and nice this is looking. So going back to the line which I marked where my yoke will be stopping, I'm just going to mark 1 inch to the side going to the center front of my dress, and to the side I'm going to mark 3/4 inch. So that is simply what I did, and I'm just going to connect this into the bust point line. Okay, So do ensure you place your curve drill well, or your ruler, whatever it is you're making use of, to ensure that you connect these lines very well. So you can see after connecting this, I'm going to just give this a sweetheart neckline because I don't want it straight. I want to give this a bit of sweetheart neckline because even from the thumbnail you can see that the dress already has a sweetheart neckline. So from that point I went ahead to come down by 1/2 inch, and firstly I'm going to curve this, but I'll be making use of my pencil first. I'll make use of my pencil and get the perfect shape or curve that I want before I'll proceed to using my marker to highlight this the more. Okay, so you can see as I'm carefully doing this, and I actually got exactly what I wanted. So now I got what I wanted. I went ahead to use my marker to highlight that line over there. So this is it, and I've given this my sweetheart neckline. So the next thing I'll go ahead now to do is to start imputing my body measurement. So first things first, now I'll start by replacing these dart intakes first. So I went ahead now to replace this dart intake on that yoke line where it stopped, and I have almost 2 inches right there, and I'm going to replace it on that exact line just like this, and I'm going to use my stretch ruler now to connect this to meet that other point. So you can see as I did this now, and I'll go ahead to use my curve drill to connect this, and I made sure that I made a point first to touch where my actual bust circumference stopped before I went ahead to create the other armhole. So I went ahead to add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches from the actual bust circumference, which is that line I'm marking X. So I moved over to my half length, and I went ahead to divide my bust, my waist circumference, into 4. I replaced this dart of 2 inches. After replacing the dart of 2 inches, I also went ahead to add my stitching of seam allowance of 1.5 inches, as you can see right here. So having done this, I'll mark this on both my allowance and also my half length. So I'll connect this up to my chest line area. So I'll move over to the underbust, and I'm just going to divide my underbust into 4 and I have 8 inches. I'm going to replace back the 2 inches dart intake, and also I'm just going to go ahead now to take the measurement of whatever that is left in between there, and you can see that I have 2 inches left in between. So I'm going to divide this into 2, and I'm be sharing this inches derived into 2 parts at this both sides of my darts. Okay, so you can see I marked 1 inch at this side and also marked 1 inch at the other side. So I'm going to use my curve drill now and just simply connect this slightly to the points where I came down by ½ inch from my bust point. So just carefully did this because this is actually the bust tightening, so it doesn't have to really occupy much of your allowance. Okay, so I went ahead to connect this to my dart leg just like this. So you can see what I have right here, and I'm done with the drafting of this my front dress. So I'll go ahead now to cut out every other thing the way I cut out. So please do watch carefully so you know the parts you are to cut off and the way you are meant to cut this off. So at this point I realized I'm yet to make my shoulder slant, which I went ahead to do at this point. I went up by ½ inch and I slanted it to the other part of my shoulder. So that was all I did right here. So you can see how I'm cutting this out. Please do look very well so you don't mistakenly cut out the wrong place where you're not meant to cut out. Okay, so for this other side, this is how I went ahead to cut out. So if I'm to take in my dart, this is going to align with my yoke area, so there's nothing to worry about. So I'll now proceed also to cut out for my darts, my waist and the other parts respectively. So you can see what I have right here is looking all nice and good. So the next thing I'm just simply going to do is to bring this together so you understand what I mean. But stay tuned. By the time I'm done sewing, you see that everything is going to correspond. So I'll just move over now to draft for my back dress or bodice. So I'll start by marking half of an inch. I'll start by making points here, half of an inch, which is going to serve as my zip allowance. So I'm connecting this into a straight line using my straight ruler. After I've done this, I'll just proceed to drafting a normal basic bodice, thereby repeating everything I did for my front bodice. I'm going to repeat everything, but the only difference with this back dress is that the neck depth I came down by here was just 2 inches. So that's just the only difference, okay? And also the neckline area, which I'll also explain right here. But for the armhole and the shoulder area, everything was the same, including the bust point, under bust, every other thing. And you can see me trying to ensure that it aligns with the front bodice, okay? So here is me marking my 3.5 inches for my nipple to nipple, and also giving this my waist dart. At this point I came up by half of an inch at both sides. So I moved over now to create a very nice neckline for this my back piece, and I first went ahead to mark 6 inches for my yoke, which I already did for the front part. So from my neck depth I came down by 1.5 inch, and I went on like this by 2 inches. I'm just trying to be a bit creative here. You can be more creative than me, but I just went ahead to do this, and there is this neckline that I'm trying to achieve because it's kind of perfect to me and I love it a lot. So I tried doing this. So I went ahead to replace the exit seam allowance I gave for my front dress. I went ahead to do the same thing for this my back dress, and also replace my dart on the waist area. So this is simply it. Connects, and I'll just go ahead now to cut out, after labeling that part, my yoke. Okay, sorry, before cutting out, please give this your zip slant or slope. I don't know the exact name for it, but avoid the bulge at the back of your zip, okay, to make your zip flat. So just do it. I've always done this on my channel. Just go up by 6 inches from your waistline and connect the same way I did, and that's simply all. Cut out every other thing the same way. And after cutting this, I'll move ahead to cut this out of my actual fabric. So you can see what I have right here, and I went ahead to add half of an inch, which is going to serve as my seam allowance, and I went ahead to label all these parts, my side front, my center front, and also my back panel. So this is all it, and I went ahead to also add half of an inch seam joining allowance. You can see what I did all around here, so please do go ahead and also do same to yours, okay? So I also went ahead to cut out my yoke on a red lace. So you can see how I did all of this, and I've gone ahead to iron my stay and also cut out on my lining as well. I ironed my stay to my actual fabric and to my lining piece as well. So you can see I'm just trying to give you a sneak peek of everything I did right here, and you can see how nice it's already looking. So now I will start assembling all of these pieces together. So first things first, I'm trying to arrange all these pieces together to ensure that they are complete before any other thing. So aside that, now I'll just draft my padded bustier. So I'm just going to cut out on this my wadding piece. So I'll start by placing my center front piece on this my wadding folded into 2, just like this. And you can see that on that line, which is my under bust line, I went ahead to fold this in. So the truth here is that when I was actually filming the original part which I used on cutting on my dress, it didn't record, so I had to redo this. So you can see I'm a bit careless about this, but while placing this your center front or your wadding place, please do ensure you pin it down, okay? So that's how you should cut, fold in the bust area, the under bust area, sorry, and pin and cut out exactly the way it is. So for this my side front, now I'm just going to make use of one part of this my wadding piece, because I actually told you that I've done this already, just that I later realized when it was late already that my phone wasn't recording this. I had to redo this again. So please fold your wadding into 2 before doing this, both for your side and for your center front. So I went ahead to pin this, and for the front part, you can see how I'm tracing this from that top area up to my under bust where I folded in. So after that, now I'm just going to come to my bust point, which is the part label BP, and I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple of 3.5 inches. You can see that I made a point right there. I went ahead to remove all of these pins, and I'm just simply going to connect like this. So that is how to cut out your breast pad. So that is just a simple thing how to do this. So if I had folded this into two and I cut out, it would have been 2 pieces of breast pad that I would have had here. But because I'm just trying to illustrate to you guys, since my phone refused to record this for me at the first place, so I'm going to use my lining piece now as an illustration, because I've already ironed this on my actual fabric. So let's assume now that this is the original part I'm working with. We're going to place the shiny part of this wording exactly on your fabric you're working with, because that's the part that gums to your dress. So this is not aligning, because I already explained to you earlier, and I hope by now you understand what I mean, because I'll still show you the original one I did. So make sure that you place this on your center front piece like this, and it aligns with your underbust, because remember that the underbust is always notched. I forgot to say this earlier, but please, it's always notched, because it's going to serve as a guide for you to place your breast pad. So place the shiny part on your piece and iron this. So after that, after the ironing, it must have sticked, because you must place the shiny part of your wording on your piece. So after ironing, I'm assuming that I've ironed all of this my wording piece on this my lining piece. So you go ahead now and start pinning like this from the under. Okay, so you pin and get up to your the top of this your dress, but you notice that the side is a bit higher, but there is no reason or cause for alarm. So you can see the actual one I did without my phone recording this, and that was the explanation I was giving. So this is what yours should look like if you follow the procedure which I showed you right here. So you can see how standing is already looking. This is like firm, despite I didn't double pad this. So follow the same procedure I showed you, and there is definitely no way yours is not going to look exactly this way. So I'll go ahead now and notch all of this area from the top all the way to where my top stops, or where this my blouse or whatever it is stopped. So I'll notch both sides. You can see how I'm doing this. I brought this so close to the camera, and after that I'll just get your tailor's ham. I actually made mine myself. So you open up the notches which you made, spray or whatever water, just spray water, open this up and make sure you iron this flat. So you're going to do this from in fact you're going to repeat this at both sides and do it from the top to the bottom part or the base of this top. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Please pardon the kind of stained wording. My iron actually burnt my fabric the previous day. So you can see how firm and nice and extremely beautiful this top area is looking already. So for this part that is a bit higher than the center front, I'll go ahead and trim it off just like this. So if yours actually happened, there's no cause for alarm. Go ahead and trim this off a bit and you are actually good to go. So you can see the standing effect and how firm is looking. So what I'm going to do now is to fix my yoke to this my dress. So I'm just going to open this up and you can see the pointy area, that's the midpoint area. But before that, I'm going to cut out a piece which I'll be using to pipe the neckline of this my yoke. So after piping, this is what I have. So I'll bring back my dress and I'm going to bring this to this pointy area on my yoke and also the part that is a bit deep on my top, and I'll pin them together. And I'm just going to pin one part of this yoke and my dress together and stitch. Okay, so after stitching, I'll go ahead and repeat the same for the other side. So This is me after stitching, and I'm going ahead to remove the pins. So you can see what I have here. So I have to repeat the same procedure at the left side of this dress. So I've gone ahead to do all of that, and after that I went ahead to join my lining piece the same way I joined my blouse. Okay, so after that I'll just go ahead and notch all of these parts, open it up, and also iron flat the same way I did it for my actual Ankara piece I'm working with. So I honestly didn't do that at this point, but please, I urge you and advise that you do it. So the next, I'm going to cover this up with my lining piece. So I'll start by bringing down this yoke, because this yoke is going to be in between my fabric and my lining piece. So I'm just going to bring these two center points together, and I'll pin that area, and I'm going to pin one side and stitch, and also pin the other side. So you can see that the dart for both the lining and my actual Ankara piece aligns at this point. So please sew this open just the way I'm doing mine as well. So that's the need and necessity why you need to iron your lining piece as well. Give this your time, make sure you pin this very well. Don't be in a hurry, don't be in a haste. Do this, pin this down, and you're going to love it. So I'm going to stitch all of these parts and leave only the armhole area open, because I'm going to do a total turn up on this top area of my dress. So I went ahead to remove all the pins I used in pinning this. I can see how it's looking. I stitched up all open parts excluding the armhole area, and from there I just went ahead to turn up. So I'll go ahead and iron this flat first before I resume with whatever I am doing with this dress. So for my back yoke, I went ahead to cut out a facing using the same lace which I'm working with. So you can see how I joined this and left only the side open. So you can see how nicely this is looking already. So I'll go ahead now and also mark the parts where this yoke will be sitting very well. Okay, because you know we cut out 3.5 inches from the side of this yoke, so it's actually not going to start from that zipper area. So that was what I did, and I'm also going to join this the same way I joined for my front piece. So I'm taking my time to explain this. I'm trying not to rush this tutorial because it's usually a bit confusing if you do. So after joining all of that, you can see how nice this is already turning out. And behind the camera, I drafted my skirt part of this gown, and I'm just going to simply fix this top part of my dress to the skirt part of this my gown. So you can see what I have right here. And please, as you are doing the back of your dress, please don't forget also to take in your darts. So I'm going to join all of that parts for the back parts, and after I'm done, I'll go ahead now and fix my ruffle for the front part of my skirt. So I've gone ahead to pin my ruffles on this skirt and also stitch at this point. So this is what I have, and I'm just going to bring this together, and you can see my dart is aligning. I'll go ahead and notch the midpoints and also bring the top part of my front dress and also notch the midpoints. So I'm going to make sure that these two notch points aligns properly, because it's meant to equalize at both sides on my waist area. So just take your time and achieve exactly what you want. Okay, so you can see that it aligns at both sides, sorry, at one side, and definitely it aligned at the other side. So I'm just going to stitch that as well using 1/2 inch. So this is what I'm talking about. You can see So after that, now after joining, I went ahead also to join for the back as well. So I'll stitch this using just half of an inch, and this is what I have right here. So the next I'm going to join is the front and the back dress together, but before that I'll go ahead now to join the shoulder to shoulder. So I pinned first, and after pinning the shoulder I went ahead to also pin the sides all through from beginning to the end. So after pinning, this is what I have. I'm yet to stitch, and for the part that has the ruffles, I took the ruffles inside first because I sewed using half quarter of an inch, I'm so sorry, to stitch the ruffles before every other thing. So I went ahead to also stitch the size of my gown and cut out the sleeve. So I'm going to show you how I cut out my flare for the sleeve. I went ahead to fold this into 4. I folded first into 2 and folded again, making it 4 pieces. So if you should count this, if you fold this way, you will notice that it is 4 pieces, and this is actually a 180 degrees flare. So you take the measurement of the part where you'll be fixing or attaching your flare, and for me here I got 12 inches. So I'm going to divide 12 inches into 4, and whatever I have, I'm going to mark it at that area, round that area. Okay, so I also went ahead to also add 1 inch, which is going to save as my hemming allowance on this flare. So I went ahead to cut this out the exact way I drafted. So I'll fold again and also place the already cut out flare on another piece to have 2 pieces of this flare, because I have 2 sleeves. So I open this up at one side, and I'm just going to pleat this or gather this on my sleeve. So you can see how I'm doing this. So I'm just going to gather this. I don't need to take the measurement because the sleeve is a bit puffy even from the thumbnail. So I did not add the other extension of the sleeve because my lace got exhausted. So, and that was just that. So if you feel like you want to make your sleeve longer, go ahead and also repeat the same procedure. Stitch this up and add your zip, and that is all. So here is the outcome of this dress. It's looking so nice. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Thank you to my subscribers, and thank you to my new subscribers, because definitely I'm getting new subscribers, of course, I know. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate 100%. I urge you try this out. Trust me, it looks better and beautiful. Thank you all, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment. See you next time.